Hello and welcome everybody to a new episode of the Digital Embellishment Show. Today we have a very special guest, an operator from Elite Print Finishing who has been posting some amazing work, Jakob Stone. Jakob, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being on the call today and having a discussion with us about kind of your experiences running a digital embellishment press. So listen, Jakob, you look rather young. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I actually just turned 20 about a week and a half ago.
That's awesome. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So 20 years old. And first of all, how did you get into printing? I'm really curious.
So actually my dad has been kind of in like the finishing business for as long as I can remember. He came to Elite Print about 3 years ago, I would say. It might be almost 4. And he kind of just does a little bit of everything here and there. And so when we got our MGI machine, they said, hey, we have 2 people training on this. Let's get him in here just in case we need one extra. And so he's been running it ever since we got it. And he asked me, I was looking for kind of a more serious job. And he said, hey, you're pretty good with computers. He was like, you'd probably be pretty good at this.
And that's it. And you just jumped on. And was it hard for you to learn? Just walk us kind of through your first experience as a 19-year-old getting to jump onto basically a jet fighter like that.
Well, I had seen a bunch of stuff he'd already done, a lot of like music posters, stuff like that. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like all the detail you can get out of the machine. And I mean, basically when I got there, I had a little graphic design experience, like Photoshop, all that. So it wasn't too overwhelming, but you messed around with it for a while and you can get some really cool stuff out of it.
No kidding. Yeah, I'm a full-on addict when it comes to the cool print that's coming off these types of machines. There's a lot of, I think, artistry that needs to be, and people don't talk about this enough, I think, when it comes to operating the machine. I think the people who do the best really have operators who love what they're doing and have a certain sense of ownership, like it's my machine, and they bring their own flair to it. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of your relationship with that machine and what are you bringing from your person, from your soul to those jobs when you're running it? Because I can see what you're putting in and I can see what's coming out.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff you do and how good anything you do comes out is really just depending on how creative you are with it. Because obviously you can go from something like your customer might send you, which is just completely solid varnish. What you really want to do is just be creative with it, and you can do so much stuff with it. You can do the rays, even with like different inks. It'll change how you see the ink on the paper. So there's so much you can do, and it's really hard to tell people that and convey it to them because you kind of really have to know it firsthand and know exactly how everything's going to work out.
It's funny you're saying that. That's probably the biggest, I think, frustration point from all the operators that I've talked to is that sometimes they'll get a file and just look at it and go, man, if only you knew what you can do with this file. Like, if only you would have let us do the file, So that's a good question. Like, are you guys ever part of, for example, the sales process? So let's say Elite's trying to close a big deal and there's a big job on the table. Do they ever bring you into those discussions and say, hey, listen, I think we should put some texture here and we should maybe do a foil and foil here? Do they ever ask for your help in making a sale happen? Or is it just, here's the file, go for it?
Yeah, I would say most of the time, since we don't actually do any printing, we'll get something that's already printed. And
Right.
If they want to add any embellishment on that, then yeah, they'll bring it in there and they'll say, what can you do with this? And we'll kind of go through it and see what would be the best. And yeah, usually people are really impressed when they see something that they were running like conventionally and then they add this digital embellishment to it, and it just amazes them.
I think it's definitely that cherry on the top. Tell me something, Jakob, when it comes to the actual work that you do, what are some of the coolest things that you've been able to produce on that machine?
One of the things I like to do is I'll actually get clear vinyl sheets and I'll put a white backer on it so you can just run it on the white page mode and it'll actually be scanned by the machine. And the stuff you can do on there and the way it looks is just, it's crazy. Just how neat and everything is. How the like the
Yeah.
stamp is just like with the foil is just
Clean.
perfect.
Yeah, it's clean. So a lot of it has to do with the surface tension of that vinyl, right? So some papers or some laminates will make the varnish kind of spread out, and the more it spreads out, the more unclean, let's say, the details are. But when you're talking about that kind of stuff, the varnish just kind of stays and almost comes and then raises, and that gives you those really, really, really beautiful fine details. And yeah, I think you did one for Spider-Man, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not mistaken. I don't know if that was a job or you were just having fun, but that job looked phenomenal. So tell us something from a learning curve. How long did it take you to really get your head and your experience to the level where you are now?
I definitely spent at least a week just trying to figure out exactly like all the stuff I could do and just all the basics. But I would say it probably took about a month and a half for me to really just run the machine by myself. And then you learn new stuff on something like that all the time and still
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah. One of the big things that I've learned was that, I'd go to India and somebody would show me how to do something. I'd be like, wow, I had no idea that was possible. And then I'd go to China and they'd show me something else. I was like, wow, I didn't even think of that. And then I'd go to Australia and basically what I was realizing is like everybody's sitting there inventing really cool new ideas and processes. And if only there was a way to really share that information with everybody. So is there any cool things that you've kind of figured out recently that you want to share or?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's stuff you can figure out you can do all the time. Like when I started working here, my dad told me he was like any size font that they want to try and do in foil, especially if you're doing it like 8 or below, that's not really possible.
Right.
Especially with the foil, like you're gonna get like it bubbling in and it's
Yeah.
not stamping
Yeah.
right. Just over time, we've messed with it and we've gotten just really small stuff to work like great and consistent.
Very cool. There's some other stuff out there that you want to try. Are you doing any, for example, foil on top of foil or varnish back on top of foil type of effects?
Yeah, we've done a lot of that for a while actually.
That's cool. And then I think the last one that we recently just heard about is people who are doing like a full block of foil. So first pass just foil everywhere. Then they're taking that sheet and then putting soft touch on top of the foil. And then taking that sheet, so it has its paper, foil, soft touch on top, and then just dropping varnish on top of the soft touch. And apparently that gives you like the most phenomenal looking effect. So you might want to play with that if you ever get the chance.
Yeah, we'll definitely try that. That sounds cool.
Yeah. You've been in this for close to a year now or 2 years. How long have you been operating?
It's probably 11 months,
Yeah,
almost a
almost
year.
a year. And if you have one of your buddies who's thinking about getting into this, what would you tell them? Like, what would be the best piece of advice you would give them?
Need to be as involved as possible in the entire printing process because you don't really want to get something that you're the last one to see and you don't really have
Yeah,
any say in the way that you're going to be actually running it because
right.
there's a lot of stuff people don't know about how our process works and what actually works for us.
That's actually a great point. Okay, are you ready for this? If you had to choose between varnish and foil on your machine, and you could only one run for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
I think I would actually say foil. Just the fact
Yeah.
that you can take any image, any file you want, and you can have an entire sheet foiled in less than 10 minutes is just crazy.
Yeah. Okay, second question. Favorite type of foil?
I think actually we haven't had any of the super crazy ones. We've had a few of the I don't know what you would call it, the pearlescent holographic from Crown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really want to see some of those crazy holographic ones from Infinity, but we haven't been able to get any.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough to get to that stuff. They're in high demand. Yeah, the pearlescent holograms are cool. The cracked ice transparents are really cool too. Very cool effects. Okay, well, listen, Jacob, I wanted to thank you very much for giving us your time today, and really congratulations, really on bringing in dynamism and youth, and keep sharing all that really cool print that you're showing. I think we need more people like you in the industry, and I think that you're definitely have a very bright future in the digital embellishment world. So thank you very much for your time, and if anybody wants to see the cool stuff that Jacob is doing, you can follow him on LinkedIn. You can follow him, and you're gonna want to visit Elite Print Finishing, which I believe. What is the website? The website
It's epfinc.com.
epfinc.com. Very cool. All right, everybody. See you soon. Thanks again, Jacob.
You're welcome.